The silence in our house in suburban Columbus, Ohio didn't just happen. It arrived like a physical blow. You know that feeling when the air in a room suddenly changes and you realize something you loved is just gone? That was the Tuesday afternoon my life as I knew it ended. I'm David, and at 34, I thought I had the American dream on lock. I was a senior architectural designer, a man who built structures meant to last for centuries. I thought I had built my family with the same reinforced steel. I pulled into the driveway of our colonial-style home at 5:30 p.m. The sun was glinting off the porch swing Sarah had begged me to buy 3 summers ago, the one where we'd sat and watched Leo learn to ride his bike. I was clutching a box of those frosted cookies from the bakery on 4th Street, the ones our 8-year-old son, Leo, that calls space rocks. But the moment I stepped through the front door, the atmosphere shifted. The house felt hollow, like a lung that had been deflated. "Sarah? Leo?" I called out. My voice echoed off the hardwood floors in a way it never had before. No footsteps, no TV noise, only the low, rhythmic hum of the refrigerator. I walked into the kitchen, and my heart dropped into my stomach. The wedding ring wasn't tucked away in a jewelry box or lost behind the sink. It was sitting right in the center of the kitchen table, pinned down by a crumpled piece of notebook paper. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. I picked up the note. Her handwriting, usually so elegant, but it was jagged and rushed. It said she'd found the spark again. She mentioned a man named Marcus, her high school sweetheart, the one who got away that she'd occasionally mentioned with a wistful look during our early years. She wrote that she couldn't be a mother robot anymore, and that she needed to find her truth in Florida. She didn't mention Leo, not once. She left his favorite stuffed bear, Barnaby, sitting on the chair next to her ring. She didn't even say goodbye to him. She just waited for him to go to school, packed her life into a suitcase, and vanished into the humidity of the South. The minutes after reading that note were a blur of frantic energy. I checked the closets, half empty. I checked the safe. Her passport was gone. I called her phone, but it went straight to a number no longer in service message. And she hadn't just left. She had scrubbed her digital existence. I remember standing in Leo's room, looking at his unmade bed. The sheer cruelty of it began to sink in. She had planned this. She had kissed him goodbye that morning, knowing she would never be there to pick him up from the bus. I called the local precinct, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. "My wife is missing," I told the operator. "Did she leave a note, sir?" "Yes, but if there's a note and she took her belongings, it's a civil matter, sir. We can't file a missing persons report if she left of her own volition." That was the first consequence I didn't expect. The law didn't care about a broken heart. They didn't care about a child's mother vanishing. To them, she was just an adult making a choice. I was on my own, and I had exactly 10 more minutes before the yellow school bus dropped Leo off at the corner. I walked down the driveway, my legs feeling like they were made of lead. The neighborhood was so aggressively normal. Mr. Henderson was mowing his lawn. The sprinkler was clicking next door, and then the screech of brakes. Leo hopped off the bus, his backpack bouncing against his small frame. He was wearing his favorite dinosaur t-shirt. He saw me and his face lit up with a gap-toothed grin. "Dad, you're home early. Did you get the cookies?" "I did, buddy," I said, my voice cracking like a dry branch. I knelt down and hugged him so hard he let out a little grunt. I didn't want to let go. If I let go, the reality of our broken life would rush in and drown us both. "Where's Mom? She said we'd go to the park to practice my header," he asked, while peering over my shoulder toward the front door. I lied. I hate that I did, but I lied to save his heart for just 1 more hour. I told him she had an emergency, that her aunt in Sarasota was sick and she had to fly down right away. It was a hot coal in my mouth. I watched the light in his eyes dim just a little, replaced by confusion. That was the first day of the rest of our lives. While Leo and I were navigating the wreckage in Ohio, Sarah was 1,000 miles away, trying to convince herself she had made the right choice. Through the legal discovery that would come much later, I learned exactly what that truth looked like. Marcus had rented a luxury condo in Sarasota with money he didn't actually have. He had sold Sarah on a vision of a life without schedules, without carpools, and without the boring responsibilities of suburban motherhood. For the first 3 months, Sarah lived in a drug-like haze of beach days and expensive dinners. Marcus told her he was starting a boutique boat charter and convinced her to sink $40,000 of her personal savings into operating costs. But the spark Marcus provided was fueled by instability. He didn't have a boat. He didn't even have a business license. By month 6, the luxury condo was replaced by a cramped 2-bedroom apartment near a noisy highway. Marcus's charming high school persona had evaporated, replaced by a man who spent his afternoons drinking cheap rum and blaming the economy for his failures. Sarah began to realize she wasn't a free spirit. She was a bank account. Marcus would gaslight her, or telling her that she was the one who insisted on leaving her son and that she was damaged goods now. He kept her isolated, preying on the guilt he knew was simmering just beneath her surface. She had traded a king for a joker, and the realization was starting to choke her. Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one. If you were in David's shoes, facing a son who is waiting for a mother who isn't coming, what would you tell him? Would you tell him the truth, or would you keep protecting him with lies? Back in Ohio, I was done crying. By the 1-year mark, a cold, hard resolve had taken root in my chest. I realized I couldn't be the mourning ex-husband anymore. I had to be a titan for my son. I poured my grief into my architecture firm. I started taking on the high-stress, high-reward projects my colleagues were afraid of. I designed a state-of-the-art medical complex in downtown Columbus that won Building of the Year. The bonus was astronomical, but I didn't spend it on fancy cars. I spent it on Leo. I decided to purge the ghosts. We sold the colonial house, the one filled with the scent of Sarah's perfume and the memory of her betrayal. We moved to a sleek, modern penthouse overlooking the Scioto River. It was high up, away from the noise, and completely new. No memories of Sarah lived there. I became the ultimate dad plus. I was at every soccer game, every parent-teacher conference, and every school play. I learned how to cook actual gourmet meals because Leo deserved better than cereal for dinner. And I hired a specialized child therapist to help Leo navigate the mother-shaped hole in his life. Slowly, the bedwetting stopped. The grades went up. We were a team of 2, and we were winning. I didn't just wait for the divorce. I turned the legal process into a fortress. I worked with a high-end family law firm that specialized in abandonment cases. Because Sarah had vanished, we served her via service by publication, running notices in the local Sarasota papers that she likely never read between her beach trips. When she failed to appear for the 3rd time, the judge didn't hold back. I wasn't just granted the divorce, I was granted a default judgment of the highest order. The judge noted her callous disregard for the welfare of a minor. Every penny of our joint equity was transferred to me, and I was granted full control over her 401k as compensatory damages for the child-rearing costs she had shirked. I didn't want the money for myself. I put it into a trust fund for Leo that she could never touch. I was effectively erasing her from our financial and legal future, while she was still sipping cocktails on a Florida pier. I didn't just wait for Sarah to come back. I went looking for the man who stole my family. I hired a private investigator named Miller. I wanted to know who Marcus really was. Miller's report was 20 pages of pure red flags. Marcus wasn't a lover, he was a predator. He had a history of finding women in stable but boring marriages, blowing up their lives, draining their bank accounts, and moving on to the next one. He had 3 aliases and 2 previous abandonment lawsuits against him in other states. I sat in my office at Family Secrets and Revenge and looked at the photos Miller had snapped of Sarah in Florida. She looked exhausted. She was carrying groceries from a discount store while Marcus sat in a beat-up SUV smoking. Part of me felt a twinge of pity, but then I remembered Leo crying at the bus stop, and that pity turned to ice. I didn't just want Sarah to face the consequences. I wanted Marcus to know he'd messed with the wrong man. About 18 months into her disappearance, I had a business trip to Tampa. Against my therapist's advice, I drove the hour south to Sarasota. I had Marcus's address. I found him at a dive bar near the marina. He looked exactly like the report said, faded, bloated, and full of fake confidence. I walked up and sat on the stool next to him. "You're Marcus, right?" I asked. In my voice as calm as a graveyard. He squinted at me. "Do I know you, buddy? I'm David, Sarah's husband, or at least the man whose life you tried to set on fire." The blood drained from his face. He tried to laugh it off, leaning back. "Hey man, I didn't force her to do anything. She came to me. She was bored of you. Don't blame the player." I didn't hit him. That would have been too easy. Instead, I leaned in close. "I'm not here to fight you, Marcus. I'm here to tell you that the private investigator I hired found your outstanding warrants in Georgia. I've already contacted the authorities there. And the $40,000 you took from Sarah? My lawyers have already filed a civil suit for tortious interference. I'm going to make sure that for the rest of your life, every time you earn $1, a piece of it comes to me and my son." He tried to stand up, but his knees were shaking. "You're crazy." "No," I said, standing up. "I'm a father, and you're just a mistake Sarah is about to realize she made. Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in David's confrontation with Marcus, and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have confronted the lover, or just let karma handle it?" The confrontation with Marcus was the beginning of the end for them. Within weeks, Marcus, paranoid about the warrants and the lawsuit, did what he does best. He ran. He took Sarah's remaining jewelry, the last $2,000 in their shared account, and the car. He left her a note that was even more brutal than the one she'd left me. It said, "You were only fun when you had money? Well, now you're just a drag." Sarah was left in a motel room with nothing but a suitcase and the realization that she had abandoned her child for a man who didn't even know her middle name. The phone call came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. "David, please help me." Her voice was broken. It sounded like it was coming from the bottom of a well. "Sarah? He's gone. Everything is gone. I'm at a Motel 6. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I just want to come home. I want to see Leo. I'm so sorry, David. I was sick. I didn't know what I was doing." I looked over at the digital photo frame on my nightstand. It was a picture of Leo holding a trophy from his last soccer game. He was smiling. He was whole. "You aren't coming home, Sarah," I said. "This isn't your home anymore. But if you want to see your son, you have to face what you did." She sold her plasma to get enough money for a bus ticket back to Ohio. When she showed up at my penthouse, she looked like a ghost. Her skin was sallow, her eyes were sunken, and she was wearing clothes that looked like they'd been picked out of a donation bin. I didn't let her in. I met her in the lobby, under the watchful eye of the building security. "David, please," she sobbed, reaching for my hands. "Let me see him. I'm his mother." "A mother stays, Sarah," I said, handing her a thick manila envelope. "This is the reality you're coming back to." Inside was the restraining order, but more importantly, there was a copy of the criminal complaint. I had worked with the local prosecutor's office. In Ohio, when a parent disappears for over 2 years and provides zero support while knowing there is a court order in place, it's not just a civil matter. It's non-support of dependents, a 5th-degree felony. "The police are on their way, Sarah," I said. "You're arresting me," she shrieked. "No," I replied. "The state is arresting you for abandoning your child. I'm just the one who provided the evidence." The officers arrived and led her away in handcuffs. The lobby was silent as the elevator doors closed. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, not because I wanted her to suffer, but because the truth had finally caught up with her. While Sarah was sitting in a county jail cell, I had to prepare Leo for the fact that his ghost mother had returned. We sat on the balcony of our penthouse, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. And he was 10 now, but in that moment he looked 30. "She's back, Leo, and she wants to see you," I said. He didn't cry. He didn't cheer. He just looked at his hands. "Does she want to see me, or does she want me to help her feel better about what she did?" That question floored me. My 8-year-old had grown into a boy who understood the difference between true remorse and selfish guilt. I told him he didn't have to see her if he wasn't ready. I told him the law required a supervised visit, but his voice mattered most. "I'll go once," he said. "I want to see if she looks different." Before we go deeper into this final meeting, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hits you the hardest in Leo's question to his father, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do children of abandonment ever truly recover? Or does the scar just get easier to hide? The meeting took place at the Family Services Building, a gray, depressing place with linoleum floors and the smell of industrial cleaner. I sat with Leo in the waiting room. When the door opened, Sarah was waiting. She had been out of jail for a week, staying with an old high school friend who pitied her. She burst into tears the moment she saw him. "Leo, my baby, look how big you are!" Leo didn't run to her. He didn't even smile. He sat down across from her at a small plastic table, his hands folded. "Hi, Sarah," he said. The word Sarah hit her like a physical punch. "No, honey, it's Mom. Call me Mom." Leo looked at the social worker, then back at his mother. "My mom is the person who took me to school every day for the last 2 years. My mom is the person who helped me when I had bad dreams because you left. You're just the lady from the pictures. I came to tell you that I'm okay, and I want you to stop calling us." Sarah collapsed into her chair, wailing. Leo stood up, looked at the social worker, and said, "I'm done now." He walked out of the room without looking back. As I sit here today, looking at a photo of Leo at his high school graduation, I realize that our lives are defined by the choices we make in the dark. Sarah chose the spark, and she ended up in the cold. I chose the grind, the late nights, the tears, and the responsibility, and I ended up with a bond that can never be broken. The consequences Sarah didn't expect weren't just the legal fees or the jail time. It was the fact that she was a stranger to the person who should have loved her most. She had become a cautionary tale in the annals of family secrets and revenge. Sarah lives in a small apartment now, working a checkout line at a local big box store. Every month, a significant portion of her paycheck is garnished to pay back the trust fund I set up for Leo. She sees him on social media sometimes, graduation, soccer championships, trips to Europe, but she's just a spectator. She's a ghost watching a world she was once the center of. If you found yourself in David's position, would you have allowed the mother back into the child's life for the sake of family? Or would you have protected your son's peace like he did? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm really interested in your perspective on this. Did Sarah get what she deserved, or was the punishment too high? Revenge isn't always a loud explosion. Sometimes it's just living a beautiful life that the other person is no longer invited to witness. It's the peace of knowing you did the right thing when everything was falling apart. Thank you so much for watching this story on family secrets and revenge. It's a tough one, but it reminds us all that loyalty and love aren't just words. They're actions we take every single day. If this story moved you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the complexities of family and justice, and let us know your overall thoughts in the comments below.